In May of 2010, Devin Jefferson was on trial for the robbery and murder of 21-year-old University of Memphis football player Taylor Bradford.
The challenges the prosecution faced was the fact that Devin Jefferson was not there at the time when Taylor Bradford was shot and killed. It was hard for them to pin first-degree murder on someone who was not there when the murder actually happened.
The state calls Miss Erica Bell. Erica Bell?
The prosecution began by calling Erica Bell, Taylor's high school sweetheart who had gone on to date his alleged killer, Devin Jefferson. Bell had previously spoken to police about Devin's whereabouts on the night of the murder.
He was with me for the entire time.
A week later, she revised her story.
She came back and changed her statement when she was presented with the fact that giving false information in a homicide investigation is considered a crime. I think she realized then that, she had too much to lose.
She would now explain exactly what Devin was doing the night Taylor was murdered.
Did you have contact with Mr. Jefferson on September 30th, 2007?
Yes. I went to pick him up for dinner. We ate. We watched a little TV.
Now, during that time period, did Mr. Jefferson ever leave out?
Yes.
Bell had changed her original story that Devin was with her the entire night.
What was he doing when he left out?
He was on the cell phone.
Okay. He walked outside the room?
Correct.
Or out, where did he walk to?
He walked outside of my apartment.
Okay, on the cell phone?
Correct.
All right. You know about how long that was?
It couldn't have been any longer than about 10 minutes.
Okay, and he came back in?
Correct.
Erica Bell testified that Devin was on the phone constantly, on and off the phone, calling the phone. Well, that tied into our proof that he was making phone calls to the co-defendants, which of course now ties him squarely with this robbery.
In his cross-examination, Mitchell wasted no time challenging Bell's credibility.
You changed your statement by adding that Devin had left for approximately 10 minutes both times, right?
Correct.
That was something that we had discussed with Erica Bell, the fact that she was going to be cross-examined about not being totally truthful in the first statement. And I just simply told her, you have to tell the truth.
I didn't tell because I knew that with the situation, Devin was definitely going to be one of a prime suspect in the case. And I was afraid that he would automatically be looked at.
She had told the police two different stories. Whether or not she was lying or whether or not she didn't recall the exact events of the evening didn't matter. It's that her testimony could not be taken word for word as the gospel truth.
The next day,
Bring out Mr. Washington, please.
prosecutors put alleged driver Courtney Washington on the stand. The court prohibited the filming of co-defendants. The state was counting on his testimony to convince the jury that Devin planned the robbery.
Who came up with the idea to rob Taylor Bradford?
Devin Jefferson.
If you would, tell the jury when you first discussed with Devin this robbery.
It took place September 29th in Devin's dorm room.
Was anybody with you?
Victor Treasure and Dayshawn Tate. Devin said he knew a guy at his school, and he played football, and he had a large sum of money.
What was decided after he told you about this individual's money? What were y'all gonna do?
We were gonna rob him.
Tell the jury about that. What happened?
We drove to where Taylor lived.
Well, how did you know where Taylor lived?
Devin showed us exactly where he lived. He described Taylor's car.
Who was driving?
I was.
What happened next?
We came back out and we waited outside. Deshaun received a phone call from Devin letting us know that Taylor was back at home. Deshaun and Victor got out of the car and walked to where Taylor lived, and I was sitting in the car about 2 or 3 minutes, and I heard one gunshot. They came walking back to the car fast and told me I had to go. And that's when Vic said, "Man, I shot dude."
Mr. Washington, that's Exhibit 43. Is that Devin Jefferson?
Yes, sir.
And what did you write after the police asked you about Devin Jefferson's role?
I don't know, Devin playing for the robber.
His testimony was critical to show that Devin was the planner. He drove them through the university campus and showed them where Taylor lived. Devin didn't just plan this crime. He was the mastermind behind it, and he's the reason why it happened.
The defense immediately countered by reminding the jury that Devin had not planned to kill Taylor Bradford.
On Saturday night, in Devin's dorm room, you all didn't talk about Victor drawing a gun, did you?
No, sir.
And on Saturday night, you didn't talk about Victor squeezing the trigger of that gun, did you?
No, sir.
Mitchell's line of questioning was a major concern for the prosecution.
You're telling the jury he's not the trigger person, he's not the person who, from a physical standpoint, caused the victim's death, but yet we want you to hold him 100% responsible for that victim's death, and people struggle with that. So that was a major concern, because if we don't make that hurdle, then we don't convict Devin Jefferson of first-degree murder.